Today, we'll be discussing whether you should sell or hold the Jordan 4 A Ma Maniére while you are sleeping. The Jordan 4 A Ma Maniére while you are sleeping releases tomorrow, September 20th for $225 on the A Ma Maniére website. Remember, they will be doing a new domain drop. Basically, they're going to drop these on a secret website that will only be revealed at drop time. This link to the website is never public, but I do always post it before the drop inside of Endurance to give all members an advantage because there is a way to get these in advance. The link for Endurance is in the description below, but we also have a free group on that same link with plenty of free guides and alerts to help you for completely free, including a method to get free Chick-fil-A meals, so check it out if you're interested. But let's talk about these A Ma Maniére 4s. In order to determine if the Jordan 4 A Ma Maniére while you are sleeping will be a fruitful hold, we will cover an estimated range of what the sneaker will settle at after the drop, and also when shipments come in, essentially all pairs going into circulation, whether they're expected to increase post-drop or even hypothetically decrease, along with how much specifically over specific periods of time. And finally, what type of margin are we looking at for these in terms of holding? Not the retail to resale initial margin, but rather the hold margin over X period of time, the ROI. Basically, even if they do go up, are they going to be worth your time? Kicking it off, let's discuss the estimated range that these should be settling at. Stock on these is about what we saw on the recent A Ma Maniére Jordan 3, which is around 40,000 total pairs. The A Ma Maniére Jordan 3s had slightly less at 34,000 total pairs, which is very similar to the first A Ma Maniére Jordan 4 we did see. The rumors about these having 170,000 pairs is not true, and if it was, these would be way easier to get in any size, but they won't, so don't sleep on these. With that said, they are quite limited, and they also have really high demand too. Not only is it a clean colorway, people like A Ma Maniére collabs a lot, but the Jordan 4 model in general has some of the highest demand of all Jordan models. They should definitely outperform the Jordan 3 A Ma Manières for that reason alone. Now, while I'm not expecting them to perform as well as the first Jordan 4 A Ma Maniére, how they did initially, I still believe there will be room for profit, especially in the large sizes. If you have no tax, even with A Ma Maniére shipping charge, you should still be able to make at least lunch money or more, but if you do have tax, only expect brick profit in large sizes, a couple dollars profit, because the shipping cost, tax, and seller fees are going to eat into it. So if you do have tax and you do get these on the Maniére website with shipping costs, try to sell these locally to avoid the seller fees on platforms. Currently, sizes 8 to 12 in men's are at an average of $326, which does leave room for profit with tax, but let's discuss what I believe will happen after the drop. Now, after the drop, we often see a positive impulsivity effect where prices may jump 5 to 10% on many sneakers, but when it comes to many collaborations like this, we don't usually see that unless there's an exclusive access drop beforehand with pairs already in circulation, driving the prices down before the drop. We don't have that this time around, so I'd actually expect price to drop post-release, potentially as much as 5 to 10%. Worst case, assuming 10%, we can see the average price then drop to $293 on average, which still will leave room for profit, especially on the larger sizes. But now let's discuss what price will look like once these shipments go out in that 2 to 3 week range. And so you should expect prices to drop accordingly. Normally we see a 10% decrease in value for general releases, but with these, I'd only expect around a 5% decrease since it's not a GR, and I'd already be expecting a large drop in value post-drop. So whether we see that 10% right off the bat or it's 5%, in total, I'm still expecting around a 15% drop between the post-drop period and the shipment period. So assuming another 5% drop, this could potentially leave prices at an average of $278, which would make it impossible to profit off the smaller sizes towards that lower end if you have tax, pay shipping, and seller fees. Now, if you subtract one of those factors, like maybe you have no tax in your state, like you're in New Jersey, or maybe you sell off of platforms to avoid the seller fees, or you get these from Nike and you don't pay shipping costs, then you could still make some brick profit. Best case scenario, you get a big size from Nike, no shipping, and you have no tax in your state. And on top of that, you sell locally, and then your profit is really solid. So it all depends on your particular situation. You might have some of these factors or none of them, but there is opportunity on these nonetheless. I'd really suggest focusing on the big sizes anyway though, because they shouldn't be too hard to get if you know what you're doing, especially if you're in Endurance and you have that early link. Now that the average price ranges at those points in time are evident though, let's discuss whether they're expected to increase from here or even continue to decrease. Now, with the prior A Ma Maniére Jordan 4, they only decreased in value over time, like all Maniére Jordans tend to. but those started off with a much higher value initially than I'm expecting these to have. With these starting off so low in value initially, I actually do believe these will have plenty of room to appreciate over time, not decrease, especially considering macroeconomical factors that I believe will only improve over the next year or two. Finally, regarding the hold margin on these, essentially, are they going to be worth your time even if they do increase? Normally, it's hard for shoes with a high initial value to see a solid ROI over the course of a year, but we've still seen it on quite a lot of Jordan 4s in particular. So I actually do think with a trough of $278, these can see a 30% ROI over the course of a year or two, which is definitely solid. Just compare that potential 30% to the average returns of an index fund of around 13%, and then these seem like a pretty solid investment. They'd only need to increase to about $360 to see a 30% ROI from that trough, slightly higher than where the past A Ma Maniére 4s are at right now in this current macro environment. Remember guys, the economy is cyclical. If these are already close to 360 in this environment, I think they could certainly be above 360 in a low interest rate environment with more quantitative easing. We're in a very unique period right now. Hence, I'd rate these slightly above average at 6 out of 10. A pretty solid hold overall, especially if you get your pair when they're already very low, close to 280. If you get your pair very quickly while prices are very high, they won't be as good of an opportunity, and then you may want to lean more towards selling initially. As usual, it all depends on when you receive your pair and how the market looks when you're able to sell your pair. Overall, I'd say this is definitely a reasonable pair to consider holding, especially if you get your pair while prices are at their lowest point. If you're watching before the drop, good luck, and remember, we post early links to new domain drops in Endurance, link for that and the free groups in the description below. Also, just a note in general, for anyone considering holding any items, if you have low capital, you should never hold anything in general. If you don't have sufficient capital to go for as many drops as possible at your full potential without holding back. If you need money to go for all drops, try to sell these as soon as you can. Let me know what you guys are doing with your pairs in the comments below. Since this is a discussion at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. This is just my personal analysis based on the data that I've acknowledged, but we have a lot of brilliant minds watching right now, so I really implore you to leave your notions below. With that though, I will see you guys later. Good luck on the drop, or congrats if you copped.